we're going to move on to pearls before pigs. Don't waste what is holy on people who are unholy. Don't throw your pearls to the pigs, because they will trample the pearls and then turn and attack you. Thaddeus, before
Mm-hmm.
I admit my guilt, do you find yourself, anytime you think about this passage, going, what am I doing? Why am I
Yeah,
engaging so
yeah. So
much with
this
people
is
who
always
don't
a hard
care?
one if
Yeah.
you're involved in apologetics,
Hmm.
especially because it's like we want to answer arguments, we want to reach people, but some people they just can't be reached, and it's like when do you call it? And it's a really tough one for
Hmm.
sure.
Yeah. So this is one of those passages that I kind of hold in my pocket, right? And I'll like pull it out, and I'm like, and then I put it back in, and it's just one of these things, right? So I have a very hard time knowing when to hold them and when to fold them, so to speak, right? So like you, like a lot of other apologists, we have spent hours upon hours of our life engaged in a debate, either through text or through chat or whatever it is, right? Trying to convince this person of the falsehood of whatever their position is, and the truthfulness of our position, right? We can come up with the most flawless, deductive forms of argumentation that nobody could deny, and yet they continue to deny it, right? Typically using the trinity of bad logical fallacies. um, and a lot of the people that we engage with truly do have their mind set, right? They are stuck in their ways, and no matter what you present to them, they're going to reject the truth of Christianity. One of the things that I tell myself, I don't know if this is a lie or not. I don't know if I'm lying to myself. Thaddeus, maybe you can help me out. I'm gonna get a couch. I'm gonna lay down. We're gonna have a therapy session right now because I definitely need your help. So my excuse for doing this is that it sharpens my sword, right? When I'm engaging with someone who's just refusing to budge, what I think it's doing is it's sharpening my own sword, right? For the moment in time when I'm in front of someone who is actually open-minded, who is willing to consider a different position than their own, willing to consider that perhaps they are holding on to a falsehood, and willing to consider that Christianity could possibly be true. Basically, someone who's actually interested in asking, seeking, knocking, finding the truth, which we're going to get into here in just a second. Um, so, like I said, sometimes it's
Yeah,
difficult.
I should have
Yeah,
put
go
that in
ahead.
the intro that we're going to learn about your name today.
Oh, yeah, we are going to learn about my name today. That should have been one of the loops. Sorry, guys. Not a real good self promoter here. So it's to me, it's difficult to tell if someone's genuine or if they're just being bombastic and boastful and thumping their chest. It's really difficult to tell the difference between one person and another. One person could be stubborn because they just truly believe what they're at. Another person could just be bombastic. They don't care about their position. They just want to argue, and they just want to frustrate you. So there is an example. Lloyd can attest to this, of a guy who was constantly commenting on our streams and stuff like that. He even went so far as to say, like, worst things should have, this was a year or so ago, worst things should have happened to Hatun. This was actually after the slap. That was before she got stabbed. He said that he wished something even worse would have happened to her. Like, this is how obscene this guy was, right? And for some reason, right, I didn't just block him and pearls before pigs trump card, right? Just lay that down on the table. Myself and many of the other frequent commenters on the channel just kept engaging with him. And out of nowhere, almost, he just announced on the channel I left Islam. So that would have been one of those situations where if I were a gambling man, I would have bet a whole bunch of money that this guy was just being bombastic and not being genuine with his argumentation. That's one person out of how many times have you blocked that one guy now? How many accounts has he made? Right. So
21, 22, going
right.
thereabouts.
And he started commenting on my channel with all the same channel names that you had blocked. So it's a little bit easier for me to kind of learn from the names that you were bringing up who this person is. But I find it hard, personally. I find it hard to give up on someone immediately, right? I don't know where you are with that, Thaddeus.
Yeah, I mean, I try not to block people
Mhm.
whenever possible. What I usually do is, I give them several warnings, and I don't ask them to, it's not like I give them several warnings, convert to Christianity or being
Right,
blocked. It's like I give
right,
them several warnings of like, stop insulting people for no reason,
right.
stop blatantly lying,
Hmm.
actually defend your argument instead of just moving on to something else when you're
Right,
challenged, that kind of thing.
right. No, exactly. And I just feel like there's so much lack of education for a lot of people out there, just in general, of how to actually logically, coherently conduct a discussion or an argument. A lot of people don't know the difference between a street fight, right, and like a formal style of communication, right? A street fight, you just beat somebody up, you win, right? That's kind of how that goes. It doesn't matter if you cheated or didn't cheat. But if you're actually trying to seriously engage and seek the truth, then you do want to follow the proper rules of logic and reason and find your way to the truth in that particular way. One thing I will make mention of it, right? There are a lot of different personality types within kind of the social media Christian world, right? You've got your super aggressive people. Two people come to mind, and I'm not saying they're good or bad, right or wrong at all. I'm just saying there's different styles. So you've got like your Christian princes, you've got like your Sam Shamoons, right? That are pretty aggressive. They're gonna pearls before pigs before the person can even get the first lie out of their mouth. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, and then you have other folks. Let's say like a James White or someone like that who just is very patient, especially when it comes to Muslims. Now let's not talk about his views on other Christians, but when it comes to the Muslim argument, very patient, very gracious, very kind, very. They tend to allow a lot more malarkey, I guess, when they're engaging with those sorts of people. And then, in my opinion, someone who's kind of right there in the middle would be someone like a David Wood. He has the ability to be pretty aggressive, pretty snarky, pretty mocking, but he also has a pretty high tolerance for people being kind of lunatics. The way that I look at this is we're known, the church is known as the body of Christ, right? And so as the body of Christ, you're going to have different kinds of body parts, right? Different body parts have different functions. So some people might be like the intellect, someone like a William Lane Craig. Someone might be the heart, right? So just loving, caring, compassionate. Most of those people are not involved in apologetics. They're more involved in evangelism, right? Literally just going out preaching the gospel, not arguing with people. There's people who do that. And then there's people who, there's a reason why we have hands that can be balled up into a fist. And there's people who kind of have a fist. Now, metaphorically a fist, I'm not saying to actually use your fist. But I think God raises up different people with different personalities so that other people with different personalities can be reached, right? You're going to relate to someone who's a little bit more like yourself. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. That different tactics for different folks. David likes to say that people used to tell him all the time that you can't reach anyone by being so mean. You got to just
Yeah,
be nice to them, and never ever say Muhammad's a false prophet, because
right.
as soon as you say that, they'll leave.
They're going to,
And
yeah.
I've no doubt that's true for some people, but for other Muslims, that's viewed as a sign of weakness. And it's like, well, I'm definitely not considering that religion. They can't even defend themselves.
Right. No, exactly. And so someone like a David Wood or a Christian Prince, and I don't want to call them, I'll just call it's going to be somewhat crude, but they've got notches under their belt. People who have left Islam and have accepted Christianity. I can't think of a single social media YouTube person besides those two who have as many people who have left Islam and accepted Christianity. I can't think of anyone else who has those numbers at all. Can you?
No, definitely not. I mean, Nabil certainly won a lot of
Yeah,
souls
that's true
back in his
too.
day,
Yeah.
and he was much nicer than David. So,
He was. But some of their videos together were hilarious, man. They're Burn the Quran Day. Have you seen that one?
yes.
Oh, that's like one of my favorite. Like the overacting, the cheesiness. Like there's already been a Burn the Quran Day. And of course, it's Uthman who burned the Quran and then compiled the Quran later.
Before we go on, I have a couple comments from the audience on how they treat this. Toby says, I treat mockers like that verse, big difference between argumentative Muslims and Muslim mockers. So, difference between someone making an argument and someone just saying, LOL, your God poops, that kind of thing. That's my favorite, sorry. But he didn't say that. That was me.
Oh, that was you. Well, that's
and then Mary says, I'm pretty aggressive, but I don't stop engaging.
No, Mary, you don't. You might have a problem. Mary will engage and engage and engage. And Mary's so intellectually intelligent and has so many sources like on her mind's disposal. Like she'll just engage with anybody. And I feel bad. I honestly feel bad for a lot of the Muslims who just like come out of nowhere and then all of a sudden they're just bombarded with facts that they had never even heard about before. I think Sassafras or whatever his name was. He was a victim to a bit of a Mary tirade there.
Yes. And we have a comment from Lynn. I'm not sure if I've seen Lynn in the chat before, but if this is the first time you're here, welcome. It says,
Lynn.
Leaving Islam makes me feel good. So congratulations on leaving Islam.
Hey, congratulations. Hopefully you found Christ or are at least considering the truthfulness of Christianity. Leave a comment if you have or if you are considering it. And if you're considering it, we'd love to talk to you. Maybe not today,
Absolutely.
But at some point it'd be really cool. So I think that covers that, right, Mr. Thaddeus?
Yes.
All right. I know people. I know I'm a big celebrity. I know it's a big deal. And people are like, what? Where's Ask Truth get his name from? Why does he just have this Ask Truth thing? Like, what's he talking about? I know that's what people are thinking all the time. It's been on all the tabloids, paparazzi coming around trying to figure out what's going on. Kidding, of course. Ask, seek, knock.